Well, the reason I chose this project is because it's something to leave behind. When I'm gone, my kids can be like, I really wrote this book. Well, another reason is because I enjoy creative writing. I'm not the best at math, multiplication, anything like that, but writing, I kind of get a good enjoyment out of that. I actually look forward to maybe being a mass communication type person or a journalist, so I feel like that has a lot of things to do with writing. Another reason is because everybody has their own story to tell. This book was anything that I wanted it to be. There was no prompt, no guidelines, or anything to go by. It was my story. The other reason is art is a hobby of mine. If you're going to choose a project, it better be something that you want to spend a lot of time doing. And since I like art, then I spend a lot of time with the illustration. So that was another reason. And like I said before, looking towards the future, this could possibly be a career choice. You might see like, oh, one day in the book club. To start out, I was assisted by Mr. George Rhymes. He is a member of the Natchez Parish School Board, and he has locally 2 published children's books. He has Poor Jack and the Outcast, as you can see at the bottom. They're not huge books, but he actually wrote them, but he got somebody else to publish them. So he helped me with more of the technical side of writing, not necessarily creativity, but more of the characters, the theme, and the story. So when you write a book, you have a lot of thinking to do. You can't just scribble, scratch some stuff during a recess and think, oh, they're gonna like this, they're gonna buy this. So you have to think about your characters. Who are these people? These creatures, these animals, these monsters, anybody. What were their names going to be? What were their personalities? And what were they going to do in the book? How are they going to act? How are they going to make these kids feel like, I want to be like this, or I'm going to keep away from this. I don't want this under my bed. So I figured that I wanted to choose characters like animals. All kids love animals. Everybody has a puppy or a cat or something like that. And we can relate to animals because we're all creatures of God, and we're all part of this world. I had to think of their names. I realized that I wanted the animals' names to rhyme with what they were, so I chose Peter the Skeeter, Dwayne the Crane, and Patty the Crawdad. Now my last character, Reggie the Alligator, his name doesn't rhyme with what he is, but I kind of thought, Reggie, an alligator, that sounds pretty good. Like, you just can't win. And an alligator, what kind of name would you rhyme with that? I have no Dr. Seuss, so it wasn't going there. And what were these characters going to do? What was the problem? What was the solutions? What were they going to do? Were they going to be nice to each other? Were they going to be mean with each other? So I chose that Patty would have a dream, and I'm going to tell you the story of how she conquered her dream. So like I said, what were their problems going to be? Patty, her head was in the clouds a little bit. They had to bring her down. With her friends, Peter the Skeeter and Dwayne the Crane and Richard the Alligator, they all had to help her realize that she had to keep the swamp clean, which was one of their problems. So the solution was she had to get her friends to help her. So the plot, more of a problem-solving kind of plot. And how do I end it? I thought all the time, all right, so what's going to be the end of the story? You can't just keep going. Kids aren't going to want to read the 30th chapter book. So those were a lot of questions that you had to answer before you even really got started. You had to think about every single aspect of it, every single detail that you're not going to think about even when you're reading the book. You had to think about all of that. The second part was more of the creative side of writing the book. I was assisted by my other mentor, Ms. Willis. She's a Wynn Parish art teacher. She has a lot of experience with SEN project. Everybody wants their creativeness to show through your SEN project. So you always ask, Ms. Willis, can you help me with this? What's a good idea for this? So she helped a lot with that. And like I said, the creative side. So there comes a whole new idea. Now what are they going to look like? Are they going to be fat? Are they going to be skinny? Are they going to be green, purple, blue, orange? You had to think about all of this. So I had to think about what they look like, the settings, the colors of the settings, the backgrounds, what materials am I going to use, fitting the pictures to the words and the character resemblance. Now by appearance of the characters, basically I mean what I just said. Are they going to be tall, skinny, short, fat, mean looking, ugly looking, pretty looking, something we all want to look like, something nobody wants to look like. The settings, are they going to be in the swamp? Are they going to be in the water? Are they going to be on top of the marsh? Are they going to be behind trees? Every little detail. So the colors, you mostly want your swamp to be green. Wasn't that hard to choose. Your background, did I want birds in the sky? I think how many birds? Every single detail you had to think about. Not something that you even think about when you're reading the book, because you're not thinking, oh, why they pick that many birds in the background? But you had to think about all of this. Now, one of these last two things, fitting pictures to words, that had to be the hardest part. Because when you write a story, you're not really thinking about this. You're just trying to write a good story that people want to read. So when you fit the pictures to the words, what do you want these kids to look at when they read this? What do you want them to look at and be like, okay, that's what that is. That's what I'm talking about. So that was really hard for me. This was something that took a lot of time, and I'll actually show you, I think it's in the next slide, what I mean by that. And the character resemblance, that kind of fits along is, you can't have a mad, like, your lines when you do art, they can be very, very skinny or big, or your characters have to look very resembled. So they can't look three different looking ways like they look like they need to be in three different books. They have to relate so you can kind of see some appearance to be resembled. This was the first page I did. This is the first page, which is Dwayne Crane always complained about the song and the way the moms are playing. So when I first drew him, he was kind of mean looking, and he didn't look anything like the alligator or the crawfish. So I had to learn how to draw, okay, go a little bit away from reality. Crane wouldn't have big, bubbly eyes, but in this case, maybe I'll make an exception. Kids might want to see a more friendlier character. So then in the backgrounds, we kind of lightened it up, and then really just making this look like this, because these look like two different books right here. But as you can see, I changed him to look a little bit more personable. That's not hard to use. And a little bit more friendly, so he looked like they were part of the same book. So that was probably one of the main hardest things to do, because you had to start all the way over. That took a lot of time, and that was kind of my first time really watercoloring, which is what I chose to use with the pictures. Because colored pencil might take a little time, and it was easier to blend the colors of the water, you know, with some greens and some blues if I use watercolors. So that was really hard. And the last thing was publishing. The book is actually published, and it took a lot of time to do this because I had to research publishing. It's senior project, and 6 months to do it, and I didn't want to pay somebody $300 just to get my book published when I'm not probably going to be famous. So I found online Lulu.com. It's a free publishing, and people, I didn't know this, but a lot of people always get books published. You can publish any book. You can publish a picture book. You can use your own pictures. You can do anything you want, and you can be published, and people actually can buy the book. You can make revenue from the book, and I did not know this until I really researched it. So you had to upload all your pictures. You had to scan them and upload them to the computer and save them as a PDF file. And then you had to add words to the pictures because they weren't going to help you out. They're not going to help you that much. But you had to add your words to your pictures. Then I decided on what I wanted my title page to look like. Then I wanted, of course, to dedicate my book to my mentors and shout them out a little bit. And make all the adjustments. Actually, in the book, there's a white line around the page, and that wasn't supposed to be there. But that was my first time doing this, so, you know, you're going to have mistakes in it. But it wasn't meant to be there, but that's just a learning experience, and it's kind of a little memory, like, okay, this is my first time, so maybe if I decide to do another book, I'll know that I need to edit it to where I can pull the page to match. So, the book is $7.99, and we ordered 7 copies for teacher, for library, for the project. And we were actually really scared that it was going to take, we didn't know how long, because it didn't tell you how long it would be before you received your book. So we were like, oh, we're going to order express. So we did, and it came like the next day, and we were like, okay, good. Good. Mama was like, I'm paying this extra money for this, so this book better come in. Like I said, I dedicated a copy of the book Dreaming in the Mind to Atlanta High School Library. It is actually in here, and they logged it in. So that is kind of cool to have a piece of your book here, so people can be like, oh, Alice, she went to the school, she wrote a book. Learning. Like I said, this was a big learning experience, even though I was associated with things that I was used to, like drawing or writing, which is what you do every day in English or art class. There was still a lot to learn. Setting short-term goals. When you first start off in October, you realize, well, what am I going to do? How long is it going to take me to do this? And how am I going to get this done? So you really have to plan a lot ahead for what you want to do. Another thing is calendar. By that I mean just really, I didn't do this, but now that I'm finished, I would have got a calendar set out. All right, I want to be done by these pictures by this week. I want to be done with all of the characters and what they're going to look like by this week. Prioritizing. Oh, who wants to stay up late all night writing a story when you got a ball game tomorrow, or or when you got homework. You really had to decide what's more important, going out with friends or do I need to work on my senior project. That was another thing. Staying focused. Like I said, it took 6 months to work on a senior project, and it is a long process. So you really have to keep yourself very focused on what you want your goals and how to achieve. And the last thing is publications. Like I said, I didn't know that you could get books published that easy. I didn't know it was just right there online, like free for you like that. So I learned a lot about publication process. And that's my project.
Good job. I'm only upset because I didn't get a copy of it.
I was just about to say that.
I was just hoping you was thinking.
I was gonna say that. I can give you this copy.
I'm not gonna take your last one. We'll just have
Oh no,
to
Mama bought enough. She has enough.
Tell me about your title.
Dreaming in the Mahe. I actually got that idea from, have you ever heard of the book Petite Rouge? It's the Cajun version of the book. Well, I wanted something that I was, kind of familiar with, and that is the swamp. So I feel like Louisiana swamp, what better to write about than something from home? And I wanted characters that people could be like, kids would, oh, this is cool, this is cute. And a lot of the media and stuff has related a lot to swamp. Just think of like Duck Dynasty and everything. That's kind of popular now. So that's another reason. And Dreaming in the Mahe, it's a story about Patty the Project. She had a dream. And then the swamp kind of thing, it was just more of a creative process. This right here, just the whole way.
Oh, you wanted to go all the way to the edge.
And it's really hard, computers, they don't always say, well, do you want a white line or not? You kind of have to find your way.
But that might make the pictures pop more.
It might, and we even like around the characters, she taught me that, if you leave a white space, you kind of attract to look at the characters. That way they don't blend in with the scenery so much. So maybe it worked out for the better with the white line. And it had an option, I know this has nothing to do with this, it had the option to have the little barcode at the back, and I was like, yeah, I want that. That looks official.
Yeah.